I am Dr. Arul Salvi, Associate Professor, Department of ECE, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. I am going to discuss about the topic data and pulse communication. Data communication. Data communication, it refers to the transmission of the digital data between two or more computers and a compute. So a computer network or a data network is nothing but a telecommunication network which allows the computers to exchange the data. The physical connection between the networked computing devices is established using either cable media or the wireless media. But the best known example for the computer network is the internet. The components of the data communication system, message, so that it refers to the information or the data that has to be communicated. Sender, the device that sends the data message. Receiver, the device that receives the message. Medium, it refers to the path by which the message travels from the sender to the receiver. Protocol. So protocol is nothing but the set of rules that govern all the aspects of information communication. It represents an agreement between the communicating devices. So network is nothing but the collection of computers, printers, and other devices that is able to communicate with each other over some transmission medium. Standards, it refers to the model for development that makes it possible for a product to work regardless of the individual manufacturer. So the standards are developed by the cooperation among the standard creation committees and government regulatory agencies. So various international standard organizations are International Telecommunication Union, Telecommunication Standards Sector, ITUT. The second one is American National Standard Institute, ANSI, and Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, IEEE, Electronic Industries Association, EIA, Internet Activities Board, IAB. So next we are going to discuss about the data communication circuit. So this data communication circuit, its purpose is to provide a transmission path between the locations and to transfer the digital information from one station to another using the electronic circuits. So here in this, the digital information source is nothing but the personal computer. It refers to the personal computer or any IBM mainframe computer, which is used to generate the data or the information, and it is given to the transmitter. So the transmitter is nothing but a set of electronic components which is used to convert the information generated from the source into suitable form in order to transmit over the transmission medium. So the purpose of the transmitter is to encode the information generated from the source, and it is given to the transmission medium. So the examples, the transmission medium is nothing but it refers to the channel through which the information is transmitted from transmitter to the receiver. Some examples of the transmission medium are the fiber optic cables, coaxial cables, and then in the case of wireless communication, free space. And then the receiver, it refers to the here it purpose is to decode the information. So at the transmitter side encoding is done, so at the receiver side decoding is done, and after decoding the original information is given to the destination. So the destination is nothing but it may be in IBM computers or the personal computers. So station is simply an endpoint where the subscriber gain access to the circuit. Node is nothing but the location of computers, computer terminals, workstation, and other digital computing equipment. So next, we are going to discuss about the data communication codes. Data communication codes are used to represent the characters and symbols such as letters, digits, and punctuation marks. Data communication codes are called the character codes, character sets, symbol codes, or the character languages. The relationship of bytes to characters is determined by a character code. Each time a user presses a key on a terminal or PC, a binary code is generated for the corresponding character. So various character codes have been used in the data communication, which includes the Morse code, baud code, EBDIC code, ASCII code, and the Unicode. So Morse code means here it is represented by the dot and dashes. So here, so these are the, in order to communicate between the machines, some of the codes are used. These are called the Morse code and then baud code. So here in this baud code, instead of the dots and dashes, ones and zeros are used to represent the information. And then next one is the ASCII code, and then American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So here it consists of 128 characters. It consists of 128 characters. And the next one is called the EBCDIC, Extended Binary Coded Decimal Interchange Code. Okay, so it represents nearly 256 characters. So next, we are going to discuss about the error control. So networks must be able to transfer the data from one device to another with complete accuracy. The data, it can be corrupted during the transmission. For the reliable communication, errors must be detected and corrected. So the error control can be divided into two general categories. So one is called the error detection, other one is called the error correction. So error detection and error correction are implemented either at the data link layer or the transport layer of the OSI model. So we are going to discuss about the different types of errors. So one is called the single bit error, and then multiple bit errors and burst errors. So this shows the scenario of the single bit error. Here at the sender side, the information here transmitted is 000 010. So at the receiver side, the error occurs in the fifth bit. That is, instead of 0, it is received as 1. So therefore, error occurs in the fifth bit. 0 is changed to 1. So this is called the single bit error. So this single bit errors are least likely type of errors in serial data transmission because the noise must have a very short duration, which is very rare. So this kind of errors can happen in the parallel transmission. And then burst errors. So here in this, so here this is the sender and here this one is the receiver. So here the group of bits are received as error. So here 0 is received as 1 and the second 0 is received as 1 is received as 0 and 0 is received as 1 and here 0 is received as 1. So here the group of bits that is burst, this is are received as error. So this is called the burst error. So here in this case, so this one is the sender and this one is the receiver. So here 1 is received as 0 and 0 is received as 1. So two errors occurs in the received signal. So these are called the burst errors. So the burst errors means it does not necessarily mean that errors occurs in the consecutive bits. The length of the burst is measured from the first corrected bit to the last corrected bit. Some bits in between may not have been corrected. So burst error is most likely to happen in the serial transmission since the duration of noise is normally longer than the duration of the bit. So the number of bits affected depends upon the data rate and the duration of the noise. Error detection. So error detection means to decide whether the received data is correct or not without having a copy of the original message. The error detection uses the concept of redundancy, which means adding extra bits for detecting the errors at the destination. So this shows the concept of error detection using the redundancy check. So this is the data and from the message which is given to the generating function. So using the generating function, the redundancy check bits are generated. And so at the sender side, so this redundancy check bits are added along with the data and transmitted. So at the receiver side, this redundancy check bits plays an important role in detecting the errors. So based upon that, the received signal may be either accepted or rejected. So detection methods, there are different types of detection methods, detection of errors. So that is vertical redundancy check, longitudinal redundancy check, and then cyclic redundancy check, and the other one is called the checksum. So in this vertical redundancy check is otherwise called as the character parity. Here, the parity bits plays an important role in correcting and in detecting the errors in each character. And this longitudinal redundancy check, here it is called the message parity. So here this parity bit is used to detect the error for the entire message. And here this one is called the cyclic redundancy check. Here some sequence frame check sequence is generated from the data or the message. So this sequence plays an important role in detecting the errors. And the next one is called the checksum. And here in this, the numerical values of all the characters present in the message is added, and this arithmetic value is called the checksum. So this checksum bits is added along with the message, which plays an important role in detecting and correcting the errors at the receiver side. So next one is the pulse modulation. So pulse modulation is the type of modulation in which the signal is transmitted in the form of pulses. It can be used to transmit analog information. In the pulse modulation, continuous signals are sampled at regular intervals. So the pulse modulation can be classified into two major types. So first one is analog, which is an indication of sample amplitude that is infinitely variable. And then next one is digital. It indicates a sample amplitude at the nearest predetermined level. So here it shows the various classification of pulse modulation technique. One is called the analog and the other one is called the digital. So this analog pulse modulation is further categorized into PAM and then PTM. So this digital is further classified into pulse code modulation and delta modulation. And here this pulse time modulation is further categorized into pulse width modulation, otherwise called the pulse duration modulation and pulse position modulation. So here we are going to discuss about the different types of pulse modulation technique. And pulse amplitude modulation, this is the simplest form of modulation. So in this type, each sample is proportional to the amplitude of the signal at the instant of sampling. The PAM signal, it follows the amplitude of the original signal. So as the signal traces out the path of the whole wave. So here the signal which is sampled at the Nyquist rate, it can be reconstructed by passing it through an efficient low-pass filter with exact cutoff frequency. It is very easy to generate and demodulate the PAM. So this technique transmits the data by encoding in the amplitude of series of signal pulses. So it shows the PAM waveform. So this is your continuous time signal, that is your message signal. And here next one shows the sampling signal, that is the carrier pulses. And so the amplitude of the pulses are varied according to the message signal. So that is called the pulse amplitude modulation. So the pulses, the amplitude of the pulses is increased or decreased according to the amplitude variations of the message, which is called the pulse amplitude modulation. So advantages and disadvantages of the pulse amplitude modulation. So advantages of PAM, both modulation and demodulation are simple. So the easy construction of transmitter and receiver circuits. In this disadvantages of PAM, larger bandwidth is required for transmission, more noise, and the amplitude, here the amplitude is varying, therefore the power required will be more. So regarding the applications of PAM, it is used in the Ethernet communication. Many microcontrollers use this technique in order to generate the control signals. It acts as an electronic driver for the LED circuits. Pulse time modulation. Here the pulses will have the same amplitude. That is, one of their timing characteristics is made proportional to the amplitude of the sampled signal. So this variable characteristic, it can be either frequency, position, or width. So in this way, the pulse time modulation, it can be classified into three types. So pulse width modulation is also known as the pulse duration modulation. The width of the pulse is varied and it is proportional to the amplitude of the signal. Since the width is changing, the power loss can be reduced when compared to TAM signals. So this shows the pulse modulation waveform. And here, first one shows the TAM signal. The amplitude of the pulses are varied according to the instantaneous value of message signal. So next one is called the pulse width or pulse duration modulation, in which the width or duration of the pulse is proportional to the amplitude, is proportional to the continuous time signal. That is your amplitude of the message signal. And next one is the pulse position modulation. So in the pulse position modulation, the position or the displacement of the pulse, it varies according to the amplitude. So here in this, it shows the pulse position modulation. Here the position or the displacement of the pulse is proportional to the amplitude of the continuous time signal. So here the displacement is more if the amplitude is high, and the displacement it will be less if the amplitude is less. And so next one is the pulse code modulation. So it is nothing but an analog to digital conversion technique. So advantages of here this pulse PTM, that is a low power consumption. It has an efficiency of about 90%. Noise interference is less. High power handling capacity. So next, we are going to discuss about the pulse position modulation. So in this, both the amplitude and width of the pulses are kept constant. We vary the position of each pulse with reference to a particular pulse. So a single pulse is transmitted with the required number of phase shifts. So in the pulse position modulation is an analog modulation scheme where the amplitude and width of the pulse are kept constant, while the position of the pulse with respect to the position of the reference pulse is varied according to the instantaneous value of the message signal. So the pulse position modulation, it can be obtained from the pulse width modulation. So this is done by getting rid of the leading edge and borders of the PWM pulses. The main advantage of the pulse position modulation is that it requires constant transmitter power output, while the major disadvantage is that it depends upon the transmitter-receiver synchronization. So it shows the generation of pulse width modulation and the pulse position modulation. So here in this, the input continuous time signal is given to the non-inverting input of the comparator, and a sawtooth signal is given to the inverting input of the comparator. And here the comparator output will be high only if the input signal amplitude is greater than the amplitude of the sawtooth signal. Okay, so only under this condition, the comparator output will be high. Okay, so here in this, so only the starting time of the pulse, it will be determined by the, so it will be determined by the sawtooth generated output. And so here this trailing edge is determined by the amplitude of the continuous time signal. So only if the continuous time signal amplitude is greater than the sawtooth signal amplitude, the comparator output will be high. So therefore, the duration of the pulse is determined by the amplitude of the continuous time signal. So here, pulse width modulated output is uptime, which is given to the monostable multivibrator. Here, the trailing edge of this PWM signal is given as trigger to the monostable multivibrator, which will generate a short pulse. Okay, so at the end of the trailing edge of this PWM signal, a short pulse is generated. Okay, here the starting time here is determined by the sawtooth generator, and here the position of the pulses that is generated by the monostable multivibrator is determined by the here trailing edge of the PWM signal, which in turn proportional to the amplitude of the message signal. Okay, so here the position or the displacement of the pulse is proportional to the message signal amplitude. Here the duration or the width of the pulse is proportional to the message signal amplitude. So here the PWM pulses, the pulse width modulated signal pulses, are obtained at the comparator output, which are applied to the monostable multivibrator. The monostable is negative edge triggered. Therefore, corresponding to each trailing edge of the PWM signal, the monostable output goes high. It remains high for a fixed time decided by its own RC components. Thus, as the trailing edges of the PWM signal keep shifting in proportion with the modulating signal, the PPM pulses also keep shifting. So this is the principle of the working of this PWM and PPM generator. So next, applications of the PPM. It is used in the air traffic control system and telecommunication system. And it is used in the remote controlled cars, planes, and then trains use the pulse code modulation. So it is used to compress the data, and hence it is used for the storage. So next we are going to discuss about the pulse code modulation. So this type of modulation is different from all the modulation. So here from the block diagram itself, we can able to know that it is a type of digital modulation. So that is the signals here are sampled and sent in the pulse form. So a common feature among other technique is that the pulse code modulation also uses the sampling technique. So in this case, instead of sending a pulse train, which is capable of continuously varying parameters, this type of generator produces a series of numbers or the digits. So each digit in it represents the appropriate length of the sample at a particular instant. So here it shows the block diagram of the pulse code modulation. Here analog message signal, that is continuous time signal, is first given to the low pass filter. So the low pass filter is used to band limit the signal, and after band limiting it is given to the sampler. So the function of the sampler is to take the samples of the continuous time signal at fixed intervals of time. The sampling frequency chosen, it should be always greater than or equal to 2 into W, where W is the high frequency component present in the continuous time signal. So this is called the Nyquist criterion. And here in this, after sampling, the samples of the continuous time signal, it will be fixed in time interval, but its amplitude level is varying. So in order to convert the infinite number of amplitude levels to finite number of amplitude levels, you go for the quantization. In the quantization, the quantizer, it will consist of some fixed amplitude level. All the varying amplitude levels of the samples, it will be rounded up to the nearest fixed amplitude level. Okay, so therefore, so the number of quantization levels present in the quantizer is denoted by Q. And here, after sampling and quantization, the samples will be discrete in both amplitude and time. And next one, the function of the next one given to the encoder, that is the discrete sample value will be represented by the digital value. It will be represented by the corresponding digital value. For example, here in this each and every sample, it will be represented by, that is the amplitude value of 2 volts, 3 volts, and 4 volts. It will be represented by its corresponding digital value. So that is the function of the encoder. It will convert the samples into ones and zeros. And next, it is given to this parallel bits is given to the parallel to serial converter, so which generates a serial bit stream. That is the pulse code modulator output. So this PCM output, when it is transmission through the channel, it will get distorted. Okay, so this in order to avoid the distortion or the error introduced by the channel, number of regenerative repeaters are placed along the communication path. So the function of the regenerative repeaters is to remove the distortion introduced by the channel and amplify it, and it is forwarded to the Next, repeaters. Likewise, number of regenerative repeaters are placed along the transmission path. So the regenerative repeaters, it consists of an equalizer, timing circuit, and a decision-making device. So the equalizer is nothing but a filter. So in order to compensate the amplitude distortion introduced by the channel, the filter coefficients are multiplied by the input signal in order to overcome the distortion induced by the channel. So after that, it is given to the decision device. And then timing circuit is there, which provides the synchronization, between the receiver and the transmitter. That is the same timing instant between the successive pulses. It should be maintained both at the transmitter and the receiver side. And then next it is given to the decision device, the equalized pulses. In the decision device, the equalized pulses is compared with the threshold value. If the incoming signal amplitude is greater than the threshold value, then the decision device will decide that the transmitter symbol is binary 1. And if the incoming signal amplitude is less than the threshold value, then the decision device will decide that the transmitter symbol is binary 0. Likewise, ones and zeros are recovered by the decision device. Okay, so next, the receiver section. So this PCM signal with noise is given to the decoder, which performs the reverse operation of the encoder. And so this decoder will convert the digital signal into corresponding analog value. And it will produce a staircase like waveform, and which is given to the reconstruction filter. So the function of the reconstruction filter is to produce a smooth continuous time signal, and which is given to the destination. So this is the PCM generator. So advantages and the disadvantages of the PCM. Advantages of the PCM, it is mainly used in the long distance communication. Transmitter efficiency is more, and here it has higher noise immunity when compared to other methods. And disadvantages of the PCM, more bandwidth is required when compared to analog systems. In this method, encoding, decoding, and quantization of the circuit is have to be done. So it makes it more complex. Applications of the pulse code modulation, it is used in the satellite transmission system. It is used in the space communication. It is used in the telephony. One of the recent applications is in the compact disc. So next one is the delta modulation. In this type of modulation, the sampling rate is very high. Therefore, the step size after quantization is of the smaller value. In this method, the quantization design is very simple. Here, the bit rate can be designed by the user. So the principle of working of the delta modulator is that in the pulse code modulation, the main advantage is that the number of bits are used to represent a sample. So in order to overcome that, we go for the delta modulation. In this, the present sample value is compared with the previous sample value. And if the difference is positive, then the step size, if the difference is positive, then the step size is increased. And if the difference is negative, the step size is decreased. So in this way, a staircase-like waveform is produced by the delta modulator. Okay, so the delta modulator, it compares the present sample value with the previous sample value, and if the difference is positive, the step size is increased, and if the difference is negative, the step size is decreased. Likewise, the delta modulator, it produces the staircase-like waveform. So increase in step size here, increase in step size means binary 1 is transmitted, decrease in step size means binary 0 is transmitted. So here in this, instead of representing number of bits for one sample, only one bit is used to represent each sample. Therefore, the number of bits used to represent a sample is reduced, which in turn the signaling rate and the transmission bandwidth is reduced in the case of the delta modulation. Thank you.